Let me first of all thank all of you who have gathered here, and let me thank the organizers here, especially Students' Federation of India, for organizing such a topic, talk on such a topic, because after 2014, the whole atmosphere in the country is becoming darker and darker progressively. And at such time, it is very important to talk about various things, including the responsibility of artists and art itself. I'm not saying that historians and writers and scientists, their responsibilities should not be discussed. But it's extremely important to discuss the responsibility of art and artists both in dark times. The famous poem by Bertolt Brecht, which all of you must have heard, will there be singing in dark times? Yes, there will be singing about dark times. What is he saying? He is saying in various points, during the fascist period which Germany experienced, probably the darkest times that humanity has seen, he is saying that art should be used to shape the society. And the kind of discussion that was triggered, especially before and after Second World War across the world, kept on dividing and putting art in various categories. If you ask me, a lot of it was good, necessary, but a lot of discussion was futile also. If you ask me, there are only two categories of art. And I'm talking about all forms of art, including poetry, writing novels or stories or painting or music. There's good art and bad art. But when you divide them into these two categories, how do you define good or bad art? In my opinion, the good art, if you ask me to define it, should have two special and necessary properties. One is that artist or art that has been produced, how does it treat the entire accumulated wealth of art by humanity? Which means in your own culture, in your own language, if we talk about literature or poetry, how an artist or a piece of art has used and treated the wealth that you have inherited from your predecessors, and whether you have made an original contribution to whatever has been handed out through history to you. But the other property is extremely important to me. What is the objective of producing art? If the objective itself is bad, if the objective goes against humanity, against human values of the time, against the social well-being, then obviously the art is bad. Even if it has treated the entire human wealth that has been created for generating new art, even if it uses the best of the words, or best of the colors, or best of the imagination, but the objective itself is bad and anti-progress, anti-humanity, then that art should be considered as bad. So Kerala files was referred to. I understand both the Kashmir files and Kerala files. These two films were released. And I'm told, I haven't seen them, I'm told that they are bad production, bad acting, bad script, bad direction, bad music. Everything is bad about it. That's what I'm told. I don't know. But even if they had the best of the music, the best of the direction, the best of the acting, the best of the script and dialogue delivery, etc., etc., even then I would consider it bad. Because the objective of both these films, I'm picking up examples and one can take many more examples, these are recent ones. Even if these were good films within quotes, I would consider them bad because the objective itself was bad. So therefore, the art that has been produced has to be looked at through a prism of these two properties, whether they contain something else and they measure up to these two factors or properties of art. I haven't seen ever any protest anywhere in the world where slogans are not used and so slogans are not produced. I haven't seen any protest where songs have not been used. Even the fascists produced art. Even the fascists produced slogans. Even the fascists produced songs which they sang to energize their own clientele, the fascist forces, which we see in India, which we have seen in Pakistan, which we have seen in neighboring countries, that they have produced songs, art, whatever. But the objective is to push society and its imagination and its consciousness towards fascism. And therefore that art, in whatever form is produced, is bad art because it is anti-humanity. But then there is art always which has been produced by those who resist the reactionary, fundamentalist or fascist forces. It could be bad art as per the first parameter. It could be a bad poster as per first parameter. But then it qualifies to be good on the second parameter. But if an art form, a piece of art, passes both the filters, then it's great art. And then people remember it. People remember it for a very long time because people do use such art form to resist again and again and express their feelings and protest through these art forms. If we pick up an example, Kabir. You just pick up Kabir and you know that you can use that piece of art. क्या बहरा हुआ खुदा है, काकड़ पाथर जोड़कर मस्जिद ले ही बनाए, ताचड़ मुल्ला बांग दे क्या बहरा हुआ खुदा है. You can use it even today, after 400-500 years, during your protest, to raise the consciousness of the people who are trying to resist this Hindutva forces today in India. So it lives. The art that is produced and has passed both the filters lives and is used again and again. And in my opinion, we have very recently seen something that happened in India. And I always quote this example. A poem written by Faiz Ahmad Faiz. Most of you must have heard it. हम देखेंगे, लाजिम है कि हम भी देखेंगे वो दिन के जिसका वादा था. Many of you must have sung it. Now this poem was written by Faiz Ahmad Faiz on the conditions that were prevailing in Pakistan. General Zia's regime was there, and they were arguing that they are trying to convert Pakistan into a real Muslim state. What did they call it? Nizam-e-Mustafa, the Prophet's order that they wanted to establish. Faiz Ahmad Faiz picks up a verse from Quran. He is master of subversion of the entire legacy. And he very artfully, skillfully writes this poem, which has picked up imageries from that verse of Quran. And could you tell me how many of you have heard this poem? लाजिम है कि हम भी देखेंगे वो दिन के जिसका वादा है. Quite a few. Now this particular poem, its title you won't remember. I'm sure none of you remembers who has even sung this poem. Its title comes again from Quran. And the title is Wabayakka Wajarabbik in Arabic. And he uses imagery of the day of the reckoning, which is presented by Quran, that verse in Quran. And then it goes on saying that we who have been kicked out of Makkah, we will be the rulers. Now Iqbal Bano, a singer, a very famous singer of Pakistan, decides to sing this poem. Faiz is exiled. Faiz Ahmad Faiz is exiled from Pakistan, in exile, probably self-exiled during that. She decides to sing this poem on the birthday of Faiz Ahmad Faiz. There is a ban almost in Pakistan on wearing sari. Iqbal Bano decides to sing this wearing sari. So that is protest personified. And people throng the place where she was supposed to sing. And when she starts singing, you can go to YouTube, listen to this. The audience is shouting Inqilab Zindabad when she sings. And then there is almost a ban on this poem after that. The night on which this was sung, most people by the morning who attended the concert, they were rested. So one can say that not only writing, not even singing, but even listening is considered by the regime, Zia's regime, as an act of crime. And people consider it to be an act of revolution, an act of resistance. But it's over. Zia dies, the poem is published. But after the event, let me take you to some of the details. I don't know how much time we have, but let me narrate the full story. That after the event, it's recorded on a tape, and it's old technology when tape recorders were there, and we didn't have discs, etc. This is recorded on a tape. His son-in-law, Faz's son-in-law, rushes with the tape, goes home, duplicates it, and this tape is immediately exported to Dubai, and from Dubai it travels to various parts of the world and comes to India within 15 days. We hear this and we are very excited as young people. But the poem is over because the regime is over. But suddenly, after 30-40 years, there is a CEA movement in India. The poem is born again. And it becomes a hit, especially when the reactionary forces in the country attack this poem. And the poem travels to all parts of the world. A large number of universities have students who have gathered to support CEA movement and attack on Jamia students, and they sing it. It is translated into many languages. What I'm trying to suggest here is that a piece of art, whether it's Faz's poem, Hum Dekhenge, or the poem that they came for communists, I did not speak, they live for a very long time. So they cross the boundary of time or the event for which they have been written or produced. The art piece was produced in a particular condition, but it transcends the boundary of time. They also transcend the boundary of nations. Travel across. So producing pieces of art and resistance during dark times is not only important for those periods which a particular country has produced, but for others as well, and for next generations. And therefore it's extremely important that artists in any country, in any given, at any given point of time, should realize their responsibility that they are not producing a piece of art, maybe a story. We still repeat and remember stories written during the partition. The bad literature also produced during partition. But we don't remember that. We do remember the good literature which has passed through the two filters that I talked about. And therefore, artist has to be extremely responsible that he or she is not producing literature of resistance for his own satisfaction or for his own generation. He or she is going to produce it for generations to come. And therefore, I'm very proud that just after 2014, artists in India, about 500 of them, were the first ones to protest against what was happening. And they were called Award Wapsi Gang by the fascists. I'm proud because I belong to that community as well. And this did not happen even in Germany. The best art was produced there. But artists didn't come together to protest against fascist forces even in Germany. It happened in India. And I think that artists here in India, especially the young ones, have done a wonderful job during both big events that have happened in recent past, whether it's anti-CEA movement or farmers movement. A lot of very beautiful, good literature was produced. Very beautiful slogans were coined. Very beautiful art was produced on the roads, and it inspired people. It inspired the younger generations. And I think the artists in the country will keep on fulfilling their role to resist during these dark times. Thank you.